Hey everybody, this is Michael Bryson for This is Bodybuilding, and I'm here today with Justin Miller. You know him as a Strong Spirit on Instagram. How you doing, Justin?
Doing good, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's an honor. Appreciate it.
No, my honor. Justin, you're one of the premier coaches, I guess, now in the IFBB Pro League. How many pros do you have right now? Do you even know?
No, I don't know. And I don't want to get busier, if that makes sense. I enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. And I find that if I get too many people, it takes away from my passion. It becomes more of a business. And I'd rather make money with like regular fitness clients and lifestyle clients than have too many bodybuilders, So
it makes sense. Yeah. And you started off as a bodybuilder yourself. When did you start competing?
My first competition was 1994.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was mid-90s. When did you start doing coaching?
As crazy as it sounds, 1995.
Okay.
The first bodybuilder I ever coached was my friend Kenny. And Kenny had been bothering me for a while about coaching him, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't feel Kenny was very serious, And he went to my show. He was inspired by watching me. Like, I won the show. Nobody thought I could win it. It was a big show. And, and he's like, look, you did it. You could go from a fat guy to beating, 30 something guys in each division and winning both. I won the novice and the open at the Atlantic States in 94. And he was like, I want you to help me do this. And I said, well, all right, if you're serious. So and eventually I took him. He was like a Gulf War vet and kind of down on his luck. And I took him on. He actually moved in my house. He was renting a room for $400 a month from some family over here. And he didn't have his own bathroom or his own kitchen. And he didn't even have a car. He had a bicycle he drove around. And somebody stole his bicycle off the bicycle rack at the gym. And so then he walked everywhere. And I said, look, Kenny, if you want, why don't you give me that $400? My mother had just passed away the year before. And so I was living, big house by myself. And I said, if you want, you give me that $400, come move in with me and let's be training partners. And I'll coach you and we'll train you for the show. And he did. So, and he ended up winning the overall.
Wow.
And then he ended up passing away 3 months after that in a car wreck at 25.
I remember you telling that story, or read about that on your Instagram page. That's tragic.
It was my first coaching experience, and I coached a girl the following year to an overall win. My friend Michelle, who beat all these top Olympians at the Atlantic States. She won the big show. It was the first big fitness show.
Wow.
And beat top Olympians, a girl that was the future 8-time Miss Olympia, and that show.
Garcia?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow,
and
that's amazing.
Michelle beat everybody, and then she just fell off the radar and stopped competing. But I kind of fell into it. So I had some success initially as a coach, even though I wasn't all that experienced myself. But I just seemed to always be better at coaching other people than I was at helping myself. And I just, helped people since then. So that was, God, that's 26 years ago.
Wow. And you do it all from the training to nutrition and everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, a coach is like, anything that has to do with success. I mean, you have a mixed bag these days, and I don't really like doing it where, I do the coaching, somebody else does the training, somebody, it's like you mix and match, but I'd rather just do it all because it all flows together. But I've done it. I have athletes now who I coach who aren't from, the area, who have a trainer at another area, and, we collab together and all that stuff. And, it works. So you can do that. But yeah, I pretty much do everything I'm a hands-on guy. I'd rather have someone here I could put through the workout at the gym and, do the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes. Your star pupil for sure have to be considered George Peterson, no doubt.
No doubt.
Yeah. What a great bodybuilder George is. I mean, he's a great guy, great, and just an amazing bodybuilder. Tremendous success with him. I saw you guys. I saw your his win at the Eastern USA's. What year was that now? 2016?
2016. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he went on right from there to win.
There for the first time, Michael, if I remember correctly.
What's that?
I think you and I had met there for the first time, if not mistaken.
Yes. I met you and George, I think both that day for that show. Yeah, he was something special then, right from the start, you could tell.
You know, it's funny though. I look back at those photos and stuff from the videos from back then, and I'm like, wow, was George really that small? Like I didn't, you know, because I see him now and I'm like, holy shit, you know, he's improved so many. You know, when you look back, I realize I'm like, wow, this guy's improved so much.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, he's also
back then, but it's just different.
So yeah, and also back then when he was an amateur in classic physique, the size parameter was so much less. Like you only had the cutoff was much smaller than what it is today.
George had to make, he had to make 177 pounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, he had a lot of room to grow. Tremendous bodybuilder. With George, what would you say is his greatest strength as a bodybuilder?
His mind. You know, I mean, he's just very focused.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you're going to compete in bodybuilding, you have to be focused to some degree, right? I mean, you got to eat all the meals, you got to train every day. You know, a lot of other sports, in a sense, have it easier in that, you know, I mean, what I would consider the hardest sport, even, you know, mixed martial arts, because it's a combination of all different fighting arts. I think that's probably pound for pound the most difficult sport, and they're the best athletes in the world, those guys, and girls. But if you think about it, you know, they don't have as much to focus on as bodybuilders in the sense that it's a lifestyle. Like every little morsel of food you put in your mouth matters. Right. You know, for them it's performance, but for bodybuilder it's like, well, if you eat, you know, a couple calories too much, it could totally change how you look, you know, or mess up the plan that you guys have. So it's like it's all inclusive, you know, it's a whole lifestyle thing. Everything you do in your life matters for bodybuilding. So in that sense, it's very hard to do, but there's levels of discipline. And I find that George is just, you know, ahead of everybody else in a sense. Like, you know, I've told that to some of my athletes, and it's actually caused a problem with some athletes in the past, because I, you know, say, hey, you want to get great, you know, you got to be like George. And they're like, well, I work hard too, you know, but there's levels.
There's levels, right? Yeah. And the interesting thing about your sport too is you have the term off season, but there's really no off season. It's just different what you're doing during the off season, but you're always taking steps towards the ultimate goal.
Always. And like George, you know, kind of made, I got a soundbite in one of those videos we did. I think it was a muscle and strength video where I said, you know, basically besides a 2-week vacation, George hasn't missed a meal since 2016. And that's facts, you know, that's true. So it's like, you know, not everybody could say that. And look, you could miss a meal and still be a great bodybuilder, but it just so happens that in George's case, he's never, ever missed a meal. 6 meals a day, every day for the last 5 years. You know, fighting with a girl or, you know, not feeling good, having a tummy ache, anything like that. Nothing's ever came into play with George besides that 2-week vacation to Asia.
Wow.
And even that, he ate good, but he knew he couldn't eat perfect while he was vacationing. Other than that, he hasn't missed one meal. And I find that very rare. I can't really say that about many people, you know.
Right. Yeah, he's special. I mean, and his mindset, he just seems always to be, I mean, I'm not around him nearly as much as you are, but he always seems super positive and focused.
Yeah, very focused. You know, he's always been focused, but I find that like what's interesting with George is as his results have accelerated, like, you know, so is his focus. You know, he's more focused now than he's ever been. And he was always focused.
Yeah. He's had great success. You guys have had great success throughout his professional career. He's the only athlete in history, I believe, to place top 3 in 4 consecutive years at the Olympia and in 2 different divisions.
You know, I thought that too. And then I saw a comment actually on your page the other day. You made a post about George, and somebody brought up Sadiq. And actually, you know, Sadiq did that too, from men's physique to when he took third in classic, I believe.
Oh, now actually, but not 4 years consecutively, I don't believe.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it wasn't 4 years consecutively.
Yeah, I don't think so, because there weren't that many Olympias, I don't think, in men's physique before he made the leap over. But I might be wrong. I have to research that. But Sadiq was great too. Sadiq, to me, I really felt that he was going to be men's physique Mr. Olympia. I just felt it. I thought that he actually had it won one year, but.
You know, what I find interesting about Sadiq is that he, you know, he lives the lifestyle. You know, I see him all the time at Bev's, and I've grown, you know, a respect for Sadiq. He always is in shape. He always looks good. And it really wouldn't surprise me if you see Sadiq at the top of the sport again in classic physique.
And the pictures that I'm seeing, or videos and everything that he's putting up recently on Instagram, is that what he looks like now? Because you see him now.
Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah,
you know, if you said that to me a couple of years ago, I would say, well, I don't know, because I think the sport's evolving, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, as I see Sadiq and I see the sport evolving in a certain direction, and I tell him this when I see him, I'm like, you know, you could be right there. You know, he definitely is. He improves, and he trains hard too. You see him. Yeah. You know, there's not many guys in the gym that compete who are top level pros who are doing, you know, squats with 4 plates and stuff like that. He does.
Yeah. And I was kind of close to Sadiq back when he was competing. We really haven't spoken in a long time, but he's another guy who's got he's got a competitor's mind. That's like,
I would agree.
Strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's someone I have a lot of respect for, Sadiq.
But certainly in classic or bodybuilding, George is the only one that's ever made a division jump. Yes.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because he was classic physique is bodybuilding, and that there's the posing and the legs have to be developed and everything. And it's different than men's physique to me. And I respect the physiques of men.
Combination of those two things. I think it was, you know, I don't know, the way I view classic has changed a little bit too, Michael. Like, I watch the shows, I'm observing the last couple of years, and I don't think classic physique is bodybuilding. I used to think that. I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yes, it's similar, but it's not quite bodybuilding.
It's different.
And I don't even think it's judged quite like bodybuilding, you know? Like it's its own bodybuilding, it's called classic physique. You know, why is that? I don't know, but you know, I think bodybuilding's bodybuilding and classic physique is its own category.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is something I would to just talk to you about. At the Texas Pro, I met Milos for the first time. He was coaching Logan Franklin, who placed second in classic physique at the Texas Pro. And going into Texas Pro, I thought Logan had it on lockdown. And I got to say, he looked great. But Robert Timms won the show. And speaking to Milos, his argument was Logan Franklin is classic physique and Robert Timms is classic bodybuilding. Now, I don't know how to differentiate that, but his argument was that Logan is more complete with his legs and everything, and where Robert looks like the bodybuilders of old, like Arnold Schwarzenegger with the bigger upper body and smaller legs.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's you know what it is. It's a subjective thing. So it depends. Yeah. I mean, really, it doesn't matter what we think as coaches. It's what the judging kind of says, you know. But having said that, I mean, I wasn't there, but like from the pictures and the video, I thought Robert Timms was the clear winner.
I have to say, and I really I like Logan a lot, and I thought he looked great, and his posing was amazing. But there was something about Robert Timms, and I was there sitting second row. When he hit the stage, it was a different thing. It was like, wow, like it made everyone look at each other and say, shit, you know. I
remember you were very impressed with him there. Yeah. I remember your impression.
I was with Tony Tavares, who's also a great classic physique competitor, won the Dallas Europa. And we were both like, holy cow, like that is something special. Like it was different. It was sort of like seeing, and I said this to Tyler Mannion, I said, it felt like I wasn't at the 98 Olympia, but I feel like what people must have thought when they saw how different Ronnie was from 97 to 98 when he stepped on that stage. That's sort of how I felt about Robert Timms, having seen him before. And this was just a different creature. It was phenomenal. The roundness and fullness of his upper body was crazy.
I mean, it's a hard division to predict, in my opinion.
It is.
Like it wouldn't, and I've told people this, and they look at me like I have three heads, but it wouldn't shock me if Robert Timms wins the Olympia.
It wouldn't shock me.
And having said that, and here's why I say that. He's not a complete, I disagree with Milos in the sense that he's not a complete bodybuilder in terms of his upper body to lower body. His upper body is a little bigger than his lower body. But is that classic? Like you look at the guys from yesteryear, that's kind of how they looked. I mean, Arnold had weaker legs compared to his amazing upper, so I mean, it depends what direction they go in. He's not going to outleg Chris Bumstead, but he out biceps him. He out, you know what I mean? He might out upper body him in a certain sense, and he could out shape him. So I mean, I think Chris Bumstead is by far and away the best classic bodybuilder or the best classic physique until proven otherwise. I had different opinions with Chris over the years. Like I thought George should have placed ahead of him a couple times, but like I was sitting, front and center at that last Olympia, and it was nobody close.
Right. It was a different thing. And I'm with you. I was right with you in terms of, I believe that I had, all respect for Chris. I think he was always very, very, very good, but I always thought George beat him. And last year, however, it was just different.
Again, is it bodybuilding? My impression up until 2009, up till 2019 Olympia, I had thought that classic physique was basically bodybuilding with the weight class, with the height weight restriction. After that show, I changed my opinion. Yeah. Based on not only the results, but based on feedback we got from the judges and talking to different people, and then I've seen examples of that since where, to me, it's not bodybuilding. It's close, but it's not quite bodybuilding. It's classic physique, and it's got its own unique set of look. It's its own look, its own judging criteria that's a little different from bodybuilding, in my opinion. I think just because you're a better bodybuilder doesn't mean you're going to be the better classic physique guy on that day. And I've seen a lot of examples of that. That's why I think that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's like it's harder in a sense where we know exactly what bodybuilding is because it's been here so long. We don't necessarily know what classic physique is.
Right.
It's evolving. It's changing. It's evolving.
And Robert is so different from Chris that I just have to see them together. I have to see it for me to make any type of prediction there. But Chris, like you said, he's proven otherwise. What's that?
He's, Robert Timms is tall. He's shapely. He's in very good condition. His waist to shoulder to arm ratio is very impressive. His legs aren't as good as Chris Bumstead. So how important, or Breon. So how important is that going to, be? How does that factor in? How does that play out?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see, It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I agree. So George is heading into, there's no 212 in the Arnold Classic this year, unfortunately.
Why is that? We got to get a hold of Arnold and change that. We got to get 212 back.
I think they just picked this year, especially. They just picked two divisions for each.
Yeah, I think they were limited. They could only have a few divisions because of the current climate with COVID and all that.
Yeah. But George is going into the Olympia second year in the 212. Really seems like a very, very strong lineup. I'm sure you guys are confident that he will do well.
We are, yeah. We're very confident. But that doesn't take away from like the quality of that lineup. I mean, it was good last year. I think it's going to be better this year.
Yeah, you've got you know, the returning champion Sean Clarita, former champion Kamal, Derek Lunsford, who is working with Haney Rambod this year.
Yep.
And then Keon Pearson's making his this is his 212 Olympia debut. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yep. And also Ahmad Ashkenani, who placed fifth last year.
And you got a lot of new guys coming up, you know. I think, like, for example, like Ahmed Ashkenani, is as great as he is, he's going to have his hands full with the up and coming guys. You know, there's guys that are new IFBB pros that have won shows this year, who, in my opinion, would give him a very hard time. You know.
Yeah, so, I think the guy from, I think he's originally from Egypt, who won the Texas Pro. He did really well throughout the year, but then he won the Texas Pro. Ahmed, I have it here somewhere. El Wardney.
Yeah, he's very
really good. Really nice looking physique on him.
The guy from Vegas who won the Indy Pro is very good also. I mean, not Vegas, from Nevada. The New York Pro winner is very good condition, you know, good shape. So you got a lot of guys, you know, and all the returning. And to me, what makes 212, why I think it'll be better this year, is not so much that there's the new blood, which is part of it, but I think that the guys within that division are evolving.
Yeah.
You know, why would we think that Kamal, besides his age, okay, why would we think that Kamal won't be better? He keeps improving. He's been in shape. I remember him from like when he did other federations overseas. He's been ripped, you know, for 20 years. He's always ripped. He's always in shape. He just gets better. You know, he was a NABA champion, and you know, I remember, you know, he was NABA world champion, NABA universe champion. He was great back then, and he's gotten better over the years. But he always shows improvement. Why would anybody think that Sean Clarita won't be improved? Sean Clarita gets better every year.
He's never not improved. Absolutely right. I mean, and he's still a guy. I mean, maybe his body won't hold too much more weight, but he's still far away from the weight limit. So who knows, you know?
He's got a smaller frame than the other guys. And that could be, it depends on how you look at it, right? Is a glass half full or half empty? He can't hold as much muscle because he's got a smaller frame, but then again, he doesn't have to worry about a weight limit. He can keep growing and growing and growing into it. So, and he always improves. So, I mean, you know, I think Sean's a very mentally strong athlete, and I would bet that he would come in better than he was last year.
Yeah, I mean, Sean's another guy.
You don't want to give that up. You know, he's got motivation, and you know, and his trainer, you know, just passed away, and he's motivated to win it for him. And so I don't think that you're going to see anything except an improved version of Sean as well. You know, Derek, you got, you know, he's got a 19-time Olympia winning coach. I mean, you have to respect that. You can't, you know, overlook that and say, oh, well, it's only their first show together, which is true. But that doesn't matter. You got to look at it and say, hey, this guy won 19 Olympia titles with different athletes. So he knows how to do it. He's been there. He's a great coach, you know, and you would have to think that Derek's going to be improved. He has great muscle bellies and shape. And, you know, I think Derek could be a great open bodybuilder one day.
I do too. I had spoken to Phil Heath about that like last year, and he agreed that, yeah, because last year was the first year we saw Derek with like striated glutes, but he lost all the pop to get down to that. And I thought he should probably go to open, you know. But this year
he gets posing in the off season. He has striated glutes, Derek. He's got really good conditions, glutes and his lats, and look, that guy's a great bodybuilder. You know, he's got as much potential as anybody in the IFBB. Yeah. You know, and you talk about potential. You know, what you can't not respect Keon's potential. You know, and Keon as a bodybuilder, he's a great bodybuilder too. You know, and there's even guys that didn't make it who are good. Guys like Austin Carr and other athletes that are, you know, this division to me has gotten very deep. I think it's going to be arguably, you know, the most exciting division at the Olympia.
Yeah, I love how this division's kind of evolved too, with guys like Keon and George who have left classic physique, who are aesthetically pleasing,
Right.
now in this division, where before, I mean, I love physiques like, you know, Jose Raymond and, you know, Charles Tank Dixon, who were shorter and super thick, but they were high quality athletes. But there are a lot of guys who are of that same sort of height who just weren't that quality, but you were seeing 212-pound little guys.
Shapely guys coming up from classic, like them, you know, you got Jason Lowe, you got, there's a bunch of athletes, you know.
Yeah, I like how
go
that.
On and on, but there's a lot of guys that are evolving that were good classic guys that are now, you know, evolving, that will evolve. And I said that years ago. The best bodybuilders at some point, some of the best bodybuilders are going to come from classic, because you're whether you're 212 or whether you're open, you know, depending on the height, you're going to get quality guys with you know, with quality physiques that build more muscle and inevitably move up. So you think you see that happening a little bit in that division, and you mix that in with the new guys you got coming. There's guys from overseas, Europe, Brazil, different places. So I mean, you got a mix of really good quality bodybuilders. It's an exciting division, 212.
I agree. What would you say? Who would you predict will be the top 5 of this year's 212 Olympia?
212 in no particular order. Well, obviously George, but you know, I'm trying to think. I don't want to leave somebody out. I'm gonna say George, Sean, Kamal, Derek, Keon. I mean, those are the top 5 obvious ones to me.
I think so too.
And you know, having said that, there's somebody that I'm disrespecting right now who's going to be in that top 6. Whether they'll beat those guys or not, it depends how everybody shows up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good guys that we just mentioned earlier.
Tons of good guys, yes. Ahmad Ashkenani, you know, Ahmed from Egypt, Kareth Bayo or Bejo, who won
from Connecticut. Yeah, Dave Palumbo's guy. Yeah, he's really good.
Win Tampa? He did well in a few different shows, and then he won one.
Yeah, I don't know which one I can't
remember if it was
Tampa. He won. I know he was in the mix with Ahmed and then the and Keon and you know, it's the Chicago Pro, and then Keon didn't do the Tampa Pro, and there was a mix of the guys in there with Austin Carr was in it, and a couple other guys.
I think that's the one that Kareth won.
Yeah, maybe Kareth won. Did he win that? Or Ahmed won? You know, oh no, Ahmed won Texas. Yeah, maybe Kareth won the Tampa. Yeah,
I think so. And Ahmed was second in both of the shows before that. He was second in, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, he's another guy. He could come in there and surprise too. Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of muscle on him, and he's not bad shape.
Yeah, short, thick, round muscles, good condition.
Yeah. If I had to pick the top 5, I'd go with the top 5 that you picked, but it's impossible to pick, you know, the exact order of anything. But those are the guys who I think.
Any of those guys slip up, you got, you know, 5 or 10 other guys licking their chops, you know, ready to jump in and kill. So, I mean, it's a really deep division, you know, deeper than it's been in the past, in my opinion. You know, I feel like it's a cool division because it's evolving, you know.
I agree. What about, have you looked at the Arnold Classic men's bodybuilding? You know, some of the guys that are doing that show.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win that? Do you have
you know, if I was still coaching a team, I would jump outright and say Akeem's going to kill everybody, you know, because I think he's got that potential. He could be Mr. Olympia. He could be the Arnold champ. You know, Akeem really is a special talent. But I can't say that because I'm not familiar with what he's doing right now. I'm not working with him. I saw him a couple times recently at Bev's. We talked for a few minutes, you know, but so I mean, obviously Akeem is always a guy that you know is somebody that you cannot overlook, and he's a guy that could win any show, including the Olympia. So, I mean, I'll put him in there. I just don't know because I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him pose or anything else. I saw the picture you posted that was up on Bev's website. I don't know if that was recent.
I don't know when it was from. I just posted it because that was Bev, Steve Weinberger had posted it.
Yeah,
So
he posted it on Bev's page. I don't know if that was recent or not. So, and Akeem's weird too, like his body in that, you know, especially having a little insight with him, because and what I mean by weird is that, you know, he's a guy that could look like he's out of shape 2 weeks out and then show up shredded to the bone, you know, 2 weeks later. And also in working with him, like I've learned that that's his body, you know, and that was one of the things where I was always pushing him, like, let's get in shape earlier. You know, I want to get ready earlier. And, you know, I think that was part of the issue with him and I was that we had fundamental differences as far as like what we thought was the best way to approach it. Whereas he feels he's better, like, you know, staying heavier and then, you know, drying up at the last minute more. So, but you can never count out Akeem. Akeem's certainly a front runner, as is William Bonac, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
Those are the two highest ranking Olympians there, right? So you would have to give those two the advantage. But I mean, you know, you got Steve Kuklo in there. You got Max Charles, who I see every day, who looks crazy. You know, you got and to me, Max is like maybe the most overlooked guy in 2021 so far. You know, you can make an argument for that. You know, Max, you could make an argument could have you know been placed even higher at a couple of the other shows. You know that.
Yeah, so, I think he looks great all the time. Yeah,
if he puts it all together and comes in here now, it could be the type of thing where, you know, all of a sudden Max surpasses all of those guys. We don't know. Yeah, he's got the talent. Max has the talent and the shape. He's a great shape for a big guy. So I mean, you can't count on Max. You got Sergio in there. You know.
Yeah, Sergio, Ian Valier.
You can't count out Ian. I mean, Ian is an evolving, improving bodybuilder who always brings great condition. Yeah. Who else you
got? Nick Walker.
Fuck, I mean, Nick Walker. What are you gonna do? Overlook Nick Walker? Nick Walker, you know, is like the new kid on the block, and people, like, you know, I think a lot of times with the new kid on the block, people tend to think, no, you know, you got to pay your dues, or the guys that have been doing it or have an advantage. But I could see Nick Walker going there and winning the Arnold. Absolutely.
It's very possible. I mean, I haven't seen him next to like that quality, that caliber.
I mean, he's got, you know, I give him credit. I mean, look at the condition he comes in, and he's got a great coach. You know, I give Matt all the respect in the world. Right now, he's hot. All his athletes come in, you know, money. So I mean, look at him. Look at Sean. Look at, you know, I mean, he's good. He's legit. Yeah, and Nick's a legit athlete in that he's a hardworking guy.
Super determined. Yeah.
And he's not afraid to say it, which people frown upon because, you know, I get it, you know, like you don't want to talk too much shit or whatever, but he's the guy that's just very confident and it comes across as cocky. But what's wrong with confidence? What's wrong with saying that you're going to win a show and going out about doing that? I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I agree with you. He's not bad-mouthing it. He's not talking crap about anybody else. He's just confident in himself, and I think that that's good. And yeah, he's humongous. He comes in shape. It's going to be really this show. If I had to pick
I don't know.
If I had to pick a winner, I would probably say William Bonac, who's the defending champion and highest-ranked Olympian.
Defending champion. I kind of would agree on paper that William is probably the guy to beat.
But I'll tell you what, I just saw that at the Texas Pro. That was an amazing show. And I thought both Steve and both Phil Klahar, who's not doing the Arnold, but he looked great too. But I thought Steve and Ian looked amazing. I had Steve winning at prejudging, but Ian, I felt, came in a little stronger at finals, and Steve faded a little bit. I'm friends with Steve, but I honestly, I think it was the right call. And Ian is a guy, you know, I've always heard people talk about how you had to see Dorian to know how good he was. You had to see him on stage. And at finals, it was something different. See, Ian looked really impressive. in pictures, some people's conditioning can look equal to his, but when just the fibers underneath the skin, it was crazy.
He gets granite conditioning. He gets very hard looking skin.
Yeah.
Skin is very granite hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's really, really good.
It's hard to predict that one, but I mean, I agree. On paper, you got William followed by Akeem. You know, Akeem's coming off of a win recently. He's got a little momentum. You know, you got that sixth place.
Yeah, at the Olympia last year, I thought Akeem is definitely going to be top 5 this year coming up, and could be much better than that. And I thought the show that he won with you, I thought he looked excellent.
Yeah, me too.
Great look.
You know, I there was some changes, and I won't get into, but it was after the show, like there was some things I saw that I wanted to improve on, you know, moving forward. There was areas I thought he could fill out a bit and come in a little, you know, grainier and harder, but I was excited. I thought that it was a great show to build on, but you know, and it wasn't like, you know, people, because everybody asked me and I didn't make any posts. Everyone's like, what happened, you know, with Akeem? How come you're not coaching Akeem? The truth is that we just had a different, I don't know, different ways of looking at certain things, I think, you know, and he felt that he wanted to coach himself. He felt that he could do a better job of peaking, you know, whereas I felt like we peaked pretty good, you know, and that it was a good show to build on. Could we get better? Yeah. And that was the intention. That was my intention, was to keep improving and win the Arnold and win the Olympia. But you know, Akeem felt that he wanted to do his own thing as far as, you know, nutrition and all that, and he wanted me to still train him, and that was the discussion. And I told him I'd think about it, and I thought about it, and I said, no, I'd rather make a clean break, just because it's like I'd rather end on a high note, you know, and it's like being hired kind of as the head coach of a team, and then you get you know, demoted to positions coach. Like if I was hired as a positions coach, I'd be fine with it, but being that, you know, just certain things, I felt like, you know, I didn't want to go from being the coach to being, you know, partly coaching or whatever, the trainer, the gym trainer. I didn't want to do that. So I told him no. And then we shook hands and made a clean break on it, you know, and I wish him all the best. Like I said, I've seen him at Bev's a couple times, and, you know, it's all love. You know, I got nothing but respect for Akeem.
Yeah.
And I wish
he's a really nice guy too.
Yeah, good dude. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's enormous. People were saying, you know, in the picture that I posted, he's doing the victory pose, like Sergio Oliva. And people were saying about his one lat looking weird. I was looking at the picture and I'm like, it's shaped a little differently, but it doesn't look like a weird lat to me.
He's got a high lat a little bit. Maybe that
he does have he has high lats, but
you know, I don't know. I've found, Michael, that the longer I'm involved in this, and like the more of a disconnect I see. You know, you see fans that think they know, but they don't know. You know, they're not there.
Oh, yeah.
They're not at the show. They're on the internet. They think they see everything properly from a webcast, and it's just not the case. You know.
Right.
So and people say, oh well, you know, everybody's a critic. Everybody's a Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's funny. People are,
I feel like a lot of the comments.
When I put, it's also fun. This is sort of similar but different. When I put up pictures the last week or so of Phil and Ronnie, people were like, "This is unfair. Your scaling is wrong." I'm like, they're pictures that were taken 20 years apart from each other. Two different. It was like, it's not my job to make it. Whatever. People are crazy. I've always thought that the best bodybuilder ever was Ronnie Coleman, but I got to give you credit. Like, you're the guy that's opened my eyes to the fact that, you know, maybe it was Phil Heath. I mean, if you know, it's a half dozen of one and six of another in different eras, but it's like you make very strong arguments to Phil, and if you really break it down and break the physiques down and look at it, I mean, Phil was a hell of a bodybuilder at his best. I mean, arguably maybe the best to ever do it. To me, the greatest Mr. Olympia ever, in my opinion, is Lee Haney.
from a totality standpoint of who they were, how they represented the sport, how they left the sport and everything else. I think Haney's the GOAT. But like the best, as far as who was the best competitor on stage, you know, you got that discussion that it'll never be answered of Ronnie at his best, Phil at his best, and that 93 version of Dorian Yates.
Oh yeah, Dorian for sure is another one. Those are the three. I mean, I think that and I understand Haney was great and everything, but times changed. But after 93, like you could take that 93 physique of Dorian and put it on a stage today, and he'd win shows.
He'd win the Olympia.
He'd win the Olympia. But the 91 Haney might not.
He wouldn't.
Yes. So that's why I go, if I had to pick the three greatest, for me, the three greatest bodybuilders of all time, and you can put them in any order, really, I go, it's Phil, Ronnie, Dorian, although I might put Phil, Dorian, Ronnie, but if you put them in any order, those are the three greatest.
What's great about that 93 Yates is if you think about that, that was how many years ago? That was before I ever did a show. That was a year before I ever competed. So that's 27 years or 28 years ago.
Craziness.
The saying that, and I don't think there's any question that physique would win the Olympia today.
Right.
As much as I like Big Ramy and I respect him, no, Yates would have slaughtered him. That version of Yates.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I'll never forget till the day I die. One of the memories I'll have of bodybuilding always was that guest posing in 93. It was like 6 weeks out from the Olympia or something. And he walked out on stage at Hofstra at the 93 Atlantic States. It was like, I mean, it's just memorable. The gap.
Well, that physique from 6 weeks, like when you see those first progression pictures from Kevin Horton, he did them at 6 weeks out and 3 weeks out. There's like famous pictures of him in his dungeon.
Right.
Those pictures from 6 weeks out, that guy that physique was conditioned enough to win Olympias today.
It might be.
Might be. I don't know.
And he was bigger. He wasn't as ripped as he was at Olympia, but he was bigger at that guest posing. When he walked out, he was straight up comic book. He was something that walked out of a comic book. He wasn't real. He was a cartoon.
Right.
And everybody sitting there knew that was the next Mr. Olympia. Without question, he was defending his title. Not only that, but everybody in that audience knew that it was a new level. And I'll say some very good bodybuilders, but like everybody was shocked. Shocked. I mean, it was just something new.
Do you think that 93 Olympia was controversial in any way? Between him and Flex Wheeler?
No.
Me neither. Someone was trying to make this argument with me. Flex looked amazing, but it was
I think Flex was probably better at the Arnold. I don't know the lighting difference and stuff, but I would say that the best Flex Wheeler that year was at the Arnold.
Yeah.
He was great at Olympia, but no, I don't think that was controversial.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I know it wasn't.
And I don't think that Arnold Flex, he was like 220 something, maybe.
What happened?
At the Arnold, Flex was like 220 something.
From what I heard, it was less than that, you know.
Like 216 or something like that, maybe.
High teens, like 218.
Yeah. But that wouldn't be a 257 Dorian at the 93 Olympia, I don't think. Just because the size differential would have been so, while conditioning similar.
It was just, I mean, it's pretty. It was amazing physique, but yeah, I don't, that 93 version of Yates was really special, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you took that 93 version, even at the Arnold's, you know, you don't know what would happen today. How would he do? How would he have done at Olympia? I mean, maybe he would have won too, but just so much smaller than these guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was amazing. I mean, if I could go back and take any physique and someone said, all right, who do you want to look like for a day? You know, I'd probably say 93 Flex Wheeler.
Flex Wheeler, yeah.
World. I mean, shit, he looked amazing.
Yeah. Super aesthetic and just round muscle belt. He was amazing.
Cartoon, you know?
Yeah.
Not real life. I mean, just so amazing.
For the Olympia, do you see Ramy retaining this year?
Ooh, yes. If he comes in the same condition or better, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Akeem could give him a run. I think Akeem could beat him.
Yeah.
Will he or not? You know, I don't know. I mean, I would say that there's probably a good chance that Rami repeats. I'll say that. But I think there's a couple guys that could take out, one of them being an all-time best version of Akeem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll retain. I'm interested in seeing what Brandon looks like this year, because I know last year they were trying to come in super sharp to compete against Phil, not thinking about the fullness that they needed to beat Rami, because they weren't thinking Rami was going to be any different than the Rami we've always seen. So this year he's coming in fuller and bigger is the strategy. We'll see what happens.
You know, again, Michael, if I could take anybody's physique from a modern day in the open, I want to look like Brandon.
Me too. I don't care about legs. I want those big arms. He looks amazing.
I mean, you know what's underrated on him is his back. People don't talk about it.
Great back double bicep for sure.
Amazing. You know, and he's very aesthetic. You know, like that guy's an amazing bodybuilder. You know, as is, I think that people could potentially be sleeping another guy that could potentially beat Rami. It is Hadi.
Oh yeah.
You know,
if he comes in looking like he did at his best, I think that was a Vancouver pro a couple years ago, super shredded. And now he's spending more time here in the States with Haney this year, I think, than he did last year, or the year before. So it should be very interesting.
To me, the biggest threats that could potentially, there's a couple of guys that could potentially beat a better version of Rami or a repeat version of Rami, and that would be probably Hadi and you know, an all-time best Akeem Williams. I think Akeem has the muscle and the shape and the quality to maybe challenge him. But those two guys, you know, or an improved Brandon, you know, but those are the top dogs right now, in my opinion. Or at least potential-wise. You know, you got to think how good this Arnold is, and then you add in on top of that Brandon and Hadi.
Right.
It's a fucking good lineup. You know,
it's going to be this is going to be one of the best lineups for the Arnold in a long time, and for the Olympia for sure.
Yeah.
Missing some of the greats of, you know, there's not going to be a Phil, there's not going to be a Dexter, but yeah, it's going to be a very competitive lineup for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the Olympia is going to be interesting, you know, and I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for George. You know, I'm nervous in a way, because it's like, you know, you always get nervous for your athletes, but I'm very excited for where George is at right now and what's coming for George.
Yeah. Well, last year I had predicted George was going to win, and I went on record saying I didn't think he was just going to win. I thought he was going to win by a landslide.
Right.
On stage, he looked not as sharp as he had in the past, especially at the 2019 season for the Arnold and the Olympia. Easy fix?
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to say easy, but we missed it a little bit, you know. And, you know, it happens. It's bodybuilding.
Yeah. And he still placed third in the world. So.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't his best, and he still took third, so that's encouraging. But we, you know, part of it also is that it's, you know, if I'm going to make an excuse, I'll say that he was growing into the new division. You know, meaning like, even though he was losing a little bit of muscle to make the weight for Classic, you know, the switch gave him an extra 20-pound weight allowance. You know, so. You know, and there was a little bit of that too. Like, I'm like, well, shit, you know, at Tampa Pro, the same thing. I'm like, I didn't know. I wanted to make sure he was carved up enough, because I didn't want him to look small. I didn't know how he'd look standing next to the other 212 guys until they were on stage standing next to each other, right? So there was a little bit of that for the Olympia too. I wanted to make sure that he was, you know, full and round as well as conditioned. And, you know, we probably went a little too far with carving him up. And, you know, we tried to make up for that, to dry him out a little more, because he was a little spilled a touch, and it just didn't work out the right way, you know, because we had room. And I think that in a sense with the Classic, he always had to get so low to make that weight. It kind of almost assured that he was conditioned in a sense, because we didn't have room to play. Whereas now George is in the same boat. You know, he's added about, I mean, I don't want to say he's added 10 pounds of muscle because that sounds ridiculous, but something like that, you know. So
For this year, from last year, you mean?
From last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, George, even though I have him down in weight early, you know, he's not far from the weight limit now, but he's very conditioned. He'll be stage ready above 212. So, I mean, we have to make that weight, which is, you know, we don't have really room. I can't carve him up too much or he's not going to make the weight.
Right,
so,
right.
You know.
Yeah, I'm still going to predict a win this year for George. I believe in you guys 100%. And his physique is just amazing to me. So still predicting the win.
The thing about George, and I appreciate you picking us last year, and I'm sorry we, you know, disappointed you.
No.
But we're gonna make up for that this year. You know, the George that, I mean, look, you got to see what everybody. I'm not going to disrespect the other guys and say George is going to go there and win. You know, you got to see what the other guys bring. But my prediction is that George Peterson becomes the next 212 Olympia. You know, that he's going to be the next champion in 2021, because what I see from George is very impressive, and I see him on a daily basis, and it's not like he's a little better; he's a lot better. So, you know, let's see. That's my prediction, and you know, but let's see what the other guys bring. Let's see what Derek brings. Let's see what Keon brings. Let's see what the reigning champ brings. Let's see what let's see what they all bring. It'll be an interesting lineup, and we won't know until they're all standing on stage. And I know that, and George knows that, but we're both very confident in where we're at. So it's going to be the best you can be. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do. It's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that you're one of the premier coaches in the world.
Right.
You're also,
I don't know about that, but
I'm as a writer who I'm not that great myself, I do think you are a better writer than myself.
Michael, you're an awesome, besides knowing the sport, you're an awesome writer. You know, you know, there's a lot of guys that you know are so-called experts of the sport, who are pundits of the sport, but I don't think that they know the sport as well as you do. You have a really, I don't know, I just listen to your opinions on past, present, you know, future. I really think that you're easily one of the top pundits in the sport, and part of what makes you great is that you're a great writer. So I don't sell yourself short. You're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I get blown away by your writing sometimes. What's that?
You should be getting paid to write about our sport. The powers that be, you know, whether it's supplement companies, whether it's show promoters, whether it's you know, IFBB, MPC officials or whatever, I hope they're watching this, and I hope that they take my advice and hire you to help promote our sport. I think you're great for the athletes. I think you're great for the sport, and I think that you draw people in with your writing. And I think that you're great for the sport.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I did an interview with Giles Tiger Thomas for muscular development, global muscle radio, I think it's called. It's going to air in like a week or so, a little better than a week from now it'll air. But
cool. Look forward to seeing that.
He asked me, he said, why haven't you ever tried, you're a great writer, why haven't you tried to get a job at the magazines? And my answer was, I thought they'd come to me. I was like, I don't know anyone, and I'm not connected, you know, but I was putting out my stuff constantly. I did make some contact with Robin Chang when he was running Flex, but
I hope Jake Wood is watching this interview and he takes my advice and hires you on some level, because you would make our sport better if you were a paid journalist working for those guys. You're great at what you do.
I appreciate you saying that. But this was all me bringing up writing to say that I think you're an amazing writer. Your posts sometimes really move me on your page, whether you're talking about this sport, if you're talking about your friends and just life. You touch on some really great emotional stuff, and you're really a great writer.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I used to do like, believe it or not, I used to compete in poetry. Now, you wouldn't probably, you probably wouldn't get that looking at me, but I used to compete in slam poetry on a competition.
Slam poetry, wow, that's awesome.
Many moons ago, but yeah. That writing's cool. I find it interesting. I was always impressed by great writers. You know, I had at one time, believe it or not, President Kennedy's inaugural address memorized.
Wow.
When I was in high school. I used to love shit like that. I just always was impressed by powerful speakers. You know, I think that's why I voted for Obama the first time.
Yeah, me too. First time. Oh, wow.
Amazing.
We can talk about politics too, but that would be a whole nother hour. But do you have any, as a slam poet, do you have anything that you could lay down on us today?
Jeez. No, I'm embarrassed. I haven't done that in a long time. I mean, I always have stuff memorized, but today I don't.
You have anything memorized?
Well, what's tomorrow?
Yeah, September 11th.
20th year anniversary of 9/11. I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that right now, but I have a poem memorized that I wrote actually on the 1 year anniversary, 9/11/2002. Yeah, I had it hanging up in my living room. I had it years ago. Someone had it made up as a present. They were impressed by it and had a picture made up in a big poster. I have it framed in it used to be in my gym that I owned. But then when the gym closed, I took it home to my living room. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to hear a 9/11 poem or if I feel comfortable doing that.
If you feel comfortable doing it, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, geez.
You know, I lived in New York during 9/11, and I experienced a bit of stuff that day. So, I mean, I would love to hear it if you feel comfortable.
Why not?
All right.
Really?
Great.
You want me to do a poem?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be awesome.
Shit. All right. Ooh. Right now, you want to hear it?
Sure.
All right.
If you feel ready. Yeah.
You know who I told it to years ago? Kevin Lavroni.
Really?
He was at my gym that I used to own, and I did it for him. And he was like, "Holy shit, that's amazing! Can you teach me that? I want to do that on my casting calls when I go to like,
wow,
gigs."
Kevin's a great guy, man. I just got to know him a bit.
I don't know if you remember that or not. I'm sure you would.
I remember at 9/11, that Olympia, him posing to Enrique Iglesias, "I Could Be Your Hero," and it started with George W. Bush talking about the bombings, the attack on 9/11, and it was very emotional. His routine, one of the greats.
Kevin was such an artist.
Unreal.
I used to have a gym, Michael, where I think I've told you this, but I had 400 quotes in my gym, all over the wall, floors, the ceilings, the equipment. And when Kevin came to my gym, we had a mutual friend, the guy I grew up with, who now has passed, but he brought Kevin there for a supplement thing he was with. And I actually got a couple workouts in with Kevin. We hung out a little bit, and Kevin wandered my gym. The two reactions I remember more than anybody else when they came to my gym was Kevin and Kai Green.
Both artists.
Two of the most creative guys, but they both took about a half an hour and walked around my gym by themselves, reading all the walls. I remember it very clearly. And Kevin, I remember clearly what they both said to me about it. They both gave me nice compliments. So it was, I appreciated that. But those are two bodybuilders that I really always looked up to and admired. Not necessarily just because they were great bodybuilders, because they were such amazing artists as well.
They are, yeah. Absolutely.
So you want to hear a poem, huh?
Yes, please. Yes. If you
all right, I'll tell you this. This one was, this is probably what the viewers tune out. All right, let's see. Hopefully not. This was It's called 2,801. And the reason is that at the time, I remember hearing on 1010 Wins, a news station here in New York, at 8:57 or whatever the time was that the first plane hit the towers, they would start reading off 2,801 names that died in New York on 9/11. So it stuck to me. And I always thought I wanted to write something about it, but I didn't know what to write. Every time I sat down to write something, I was just blank. And for some reason, I got inspired on the 1-year anniversary, and I took that number and I made a poem out of it. So it's called 2,801, although I think it, as the time has evolved, it's like 2,750 something people that actually, maybe they found 50 people since then or something. But at that time, at the 1-year anniversary, it was 2,801. All right, hold on. I got to take a drink here.
Sure.
All right, here we go. 2,801. That's the number of names they'll read today at Ground Zero, a place not too far from here where many have died a hero. They died for our country. They died for our lives. They died in our world without saying goodbyes. She wasn't in the army, just a mom working on floor number 82. They weren't trained for war, yet over a Pennsylvania sky, they knew what they must do. Must have been real hard running up those smoke-filled stairs trying to see. And all those brave brothers lost of their own, 343. Many things happen on this dark September day with bright sunny weather. Who would think in this way? Some sick, twisted someone with a scary vision to display. Display to his world and his enemies at bay. Here is what I have to say as he spoke in his mind. On you many people, I will commit a horrific crime. My God is better than your God in his mind, he exclaims, as him and his clan tear into our buildings with our planes. What kind of God would do something like this? Killing all those innocent people is just simply ludicrous. So crazy it all is, man. What were you thinking, my friend? What did these people do to deserve this kind of an end? And why I refer to you as friend, I certainly don't know, because I would love to hurt you. Locked in a cage and off I go, tearing you apart piece by bloody piece, loving all of your screams. Damn, what a dream. Yet what would I accomplish by that? Nothing at all except the revenge that I'm seeing. I need it for our people, our children, our dead. Man, what emotions go on inside my head? Why did they do this? From where did this come? We must all look, despite a very bright sun. Strain with our eyes through our tears and our cries, try to understand why people give in to such lies. There is no truly sane answer, of course. These were hate-filled individuals getting power from an evil source, an evil force in nature that does unfortunately exist. But if we all bond together, justice will insist. Our country was founded on great ideas of promise and liberating dreams. It's time for us to pursue them. The hour is now upon us, it seems. An hour of judgment in an age in need of change. We must act now, world. Our thinking must rearrange. The liberation I speak of is not just for us, but also for them. We are all part of life's circle, spirits living here as women and men. With freedom, love, and passion inside of our heart. And here's a little clue, that's where we all must start. Not in buildings looking at statues of various guys, people who lived here many years ago, but have long since said their goodbyes. No offense to any great leader, woman, man, or God, but we are in an advanced age that has become quite odd. We can't go on hating, we must teach each other to love. Show them that we are not so terrible with power from above. We are people like them and we all come from the very same place. To continue destroying each other, well, that is truly the biggest disgrace. We must arm ourselves, of course, for that we have no choice, must protect our way of life, but also give it a voice. For our strongest weapon is not our bombs, it simply lies within. It lies within each and every one of us. We must be strong and use it and never give in. Never give in to hatred, resentment, and lies. The weapon is called giving. See, really, it's just so simple and wise. We will fight many battles still, and people will lose many lives. Daughters will lose fathers, mothers, sons, and husbands, wives. But when the smoke clears, let's reach across our world and embrace. Teach others that we are all part of the same human race. Because if we don't stop destroying, eventually we will all violently die, unable to come together as our Creator kneels and cries for our failures and takes them on as his own, when really it was our fault. For we should have known, should have foreseen the future on that bright sunny morning. Instead, it's 20 years tomorrow that we are mourning. Mourning the loss of 2,801, and that's just in New York. In total, over 3,000 from that day, and countless thousands since are now gone, leaving their families to live and to grieve. Folks, this is the reason that we have to believe. Believe in each other. Believe in our minds. Believe that we are all one. One. And see all the signs. See all the signs before it's too late. We must learn how to love and how not to hate.
That was
I remembered it, but yeah.
that you remembered it is impressive enough, but that was beautiful, really powerful stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a better writer than me, so I'm done. No, that was really great.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity to deliver that. You know,
thank you for sharing it. I really appreciate it. And so apropos, tomorrow being the anniversary. Wow. So this video will be up hopefully tonight, if not by tomorrow morning. So yeah, timing was great. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you also for coming on. I really appreciate you so much, Justin. Really do.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. This is Michael Bryson with Justin Miller. Thanks for tuning in. Tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is Bodybuilding. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Michael Bryson. This is Bodybuilding.